Okay, recording this video on Sunday, the 5th of June 2022. It's just gone 5:50 p.m. Chicago time. Do hope you are doing well. So, a lot of talk this week about the crypto winter. So I thought I would do a quick video just talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum and what I'm seeing on my charts. So I'm going to take you down from the daily charts all the way to the tick bar charts and show you what I am thinking about the crypto markets at the moment. So the first view is the kind of more detailed view, so we can kind of look down at specifically the cycles and trends and volume activity. We have the two charts set up side by side with Bitcoin on a daily chart. I use a 1440 minute chart in order to get the detail of the volume here. On the right hand side we have better sine wave calculating the cycles and trends, and on the left hand side we have better momentum and better pro-am. And what I'm particularly kind of concerned about at the moment is the amount of time that it's going to have to play out on the downside to put in the right amount of activity to set up for the next up leg in Bitcoin. So you can see that we topped out very nicely at 67,000 here with a pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame. The thickest lines here are the highest time frame. The intermediate time frames are the slightly thinner lines, and the very thin lines are the lowest time frame. So we had a nice kind of topping out activity, pullback to end of trend on the lowest time frame, pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame. That marked the high, and then we've fallen into this kind of downtrend. At 40,000 though, we had a chance of kind of holding this market because we had support on the highest time frame, which means that we should be looking for setups to the upside. We'd put in a nice pullback to end of trend on the low, and then pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frames. So we had a lot kind of going for us here, and we had a triple setting up. We had support on the low, intermediate, and time frames. So big things happen at triples, and I was hoping the 40,000 level would hold and that we would start to rally from there. But what we had in the meantime was the Terra debacle, and that's where Terra, the stablecoin, kind of collapsed, and it was around here that that happened. When I look in detail on my charts, the weekend that the Terra collapse started, Bitcoin was actually starting to move a little bit in advance of Terra kind of coming off. So I'm not sure I can attribute exactly this decline in Bitcoin to the Terra kind of debacle, but it certainly doesn't help the market. But what this means for the daily chart is that we've still got to put in some cyclical activity, some basing activity before we're all done on the downside and can start to break into an uptrend. So specifically on the lowest time frame, we need to put in pullback to end of trend or break through the pullback level, and then because we're so far below cyclical support on the intermediate time frame, we probably need to put in a pullback to end of trend similar to this. There's the cyclical support last time around on the intermediate time frame, just like that. We need to put in pullback to end of trend. So to work out that cyclical energy in order to kind of test the downside, that's going to take some while. So I kind of agree with this term crypto winter, is that we're going to have to put in quite a lot of basing activity, and this will take time to play out those cycles before we're ready for that next kind of up leg. If you look at it in terms of volumes and what the professionals are doing, every time we come back down into the lows, the professionals kind of get interested. So you can see here, we dip, blue professional bars kind of step in, we dip, blue professional bars step in. This last dip, a whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of stepping in at 30. And at that 40 level, you know, it was being led by the amateurs. We had amateur up bars, and into the high at 67,000, whatever it was, being led by the amateurs with Rambo patterns here. No blue professional bars at the highs kind of taking profits there, so I still think kind of long-term Bitcoin is still of interest to professionals because they didn't get out at these highs. Each of these dips they've been buying in, so that's kind of good news, but it will take some time to work out that cyclical energy on the daily chart. Similar thing going on the Ethereum chart. Here you can see again we kind of came into pullback to end of trend. That level didn't hold. That was the kind of the weekend of Terra, I think, where we kind of dropped through 2600 and then we just kind of continued down. So here we're below support on all three time frames. We've got to put in pullback to end of trend on the downside here on the lowest time frame, possibly on the intermediate as well. So that's going to take some time, and again, each time we head into the lows, blue professional bars kind of step in. Blue professional bars hold it here, hold it here. That one didn't work out. We come back down again to 1800, and the blue professional bars kind of step in. So we're absolutely critical at these levels here. They need to hold. We need to put in that cyclical activity, and I'm afraid that from my perspective, on these daily charts at least, is going to take a while. Simplified view of the world, where we look at the indicators on this kind of simplified view, overbought, oversold, with the daily chart, and then a third of that, the 480-minute chart. Is there anything that we can see in terms of long setups here? Yes, we have blue professional bars at the lows down here at 30,000, which is a good sign, but no signals to go long yet on the next time frame up. Ethereum, same thing, blue professional bars down at these lows at 1800, but no setups to go long on the daily chart, on the 480-minute chart there. And that would be the setup that I'm looking for. This is why I was interested in that kind of 40,000 level holding, 3,000 level holding on Ethereum, was that we had blue professional bars step in, and then we had a signal on a lower time frame. I like that for a setup. Ran out of steam, exhaustion buy, and then fell off again. So we're waiting all over again for another kind of setup on the downside here. We need oversold. We've got exhaustion sell at this point here, but we've not put in bullish divergence. So wait and see on the daily charts and the 480-minute charts. Nice thing about the cryptos though, very tradable market on the lower time frames, on the tip bar charts and so on. So can we see anything here kind of setting up? The last time we kind of came around at highs, blue professional bars on Bitcoin at 32,000, and then we had a signal a little bit late into this move, but we've got not got anything on the upside kind of setting up here. We don't have blue professional bars at the lows down here, and it's almost like these blue professional bars were, well, the highs of that area haven't been hit yet, so I'm reluctant to say that there's potential setup to go long at that point, although we could break above this resistance here at 30,150, and that'll give us a triple signal at that point. But there's not a lot of blue professional bars at these lows that you'd want for a nice kind of setup to go long on Bitcoin. Ethereum, same thing. The breakdown, so we had all these blue professional bars at the highs at 2000, up here, anxiously getting short, and then anxiously getting short again, bang, through here. And on the downside here at these lows, we've had no blue professional bars kind of come in on the higher time frame on the 13,500 tip bar chart. So again, no kind of setups there. So that's, for me, is the story on the cryptos at the moment. We're just going to have to sit through this crypto winter until the cycles kind of play themselves out on the downside. There will be opportunities though on the tip bar charts. I'll kind of be looking for those in the next days and weeks to come. So quickly onto the E-mini, just to show you what I'm looking at on my charts. On the daily chart, I think the Qs have the best interpretation of what is going on at the moment. So this is the ETF following the NASDAQ, because it's got all of the right kind of volume patterns to show that we've got a potential low been put in, and we're just putting in another test. So left-hand side, better pro-am and better momentum. So the momentum shows us the exhaustion sell kind of getting this move going. We had a really sharp short covering rally here, which generated exhaustion buy patterns at that point, and that was getting out all of that volume that had got short, was being shook out at that point, or kind of the weak hands were being shaken out to such an extent that it kind of drove an exhaustion volume pattern, and then we come down again. So another move to the downside, exhaustion sell. Blue professional bars getting the move going, blue professional bars kind of picking it up at the end here. Got bullish divergence kind of set in. And what's nice on the downside, we put in pullback to end of trend on the low time frame, pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame. So this is an inverted head and shoulders move. A shoulder here shown by that lowest time frame, the head shown by the intermediate time frame, and that is going to sync up with cyclical support on the highest time frame. That's in due because we've had these thick lines cross on better sine wave here, the plate of spaghetti below the price bars. So we're in due for cyclical support. It's not printed yet, but we're going to have to take one other kind of push down, because you can see that we're kind of bouncing off this level. We have a resistance to put in on the daily chart where that's going to be pullback to end of trend on the downside. You can see it a little bit more clearly on the E-mini here. So this is at es.d, day session only, and you can see we're below support on the low and intermediate time frames. That's showing the weakness of this move down, and we're having a little bit of a bounce back, and that is going to cross these two time frames, these two lines on the lowest time frame. The red is going to cross the blue, and that's going to show us a pullback to end of trend here. And once that happens, that's that last kind of push down that we've got a chance setting up with cyclical support on the highest time frame that will have a kind of a rally back then. If we look at this just on the the big picture here, you can see that this whole uptrend with the red bars started off in 2020 after our kind of crash, COVID crash. We kind of broke up through there, red bars the whole time all the way up to those highs, and this will be the final push where we put in pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame here. So the 3,500 level, absolutely key, that needs to hold. That needs to go in to be a pullback to an end of trend move on the daily chart. Then just backing it down to the 135-minute charts, there's 3 135-minute bars in a day session. You can see amateur up bars here into that resistance, and it's kind of induced. So here we've got the intermediate time frame coming together with the highest time frame kind of coming together. We're going to have trouble getting through here at this point and a push down. 45-minute chart, it's all that Rambo, look at the whole series of Rambo patterns. So all of that activity is the amateurs getting excited too early, that the bottom is in at 38.50, and that we're kind of going to race away to check the highs, and I think that's going to be weak. We've got the exhaustion cell kind of getting this move going. We're going to run out of steam. You can see the high time frames kind of coming together and kind of roll over at 4100 and then go test into 2850, and then down to the 15-minute charts again. Rambo patterns leading the way up just like this. It's weak. We come back down and test. So here we put in our pullback to end of trend on the low time frame, pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame. We've overshot on the highest time frame, and so breaking through 4100 would take us into a downswing here to go and test this area and see where we catch. So you can see it's all fractal. You can see these same patterns repeating again and again when you go down to the lowest time frames all the way up to the highest time frames, and even tick bar charts and so on. Cycles and trends like this on better sine wave, they work in all these time frames because it's calculating that cyclical and trending energy. And so it's just a question of getting the setup right for kind of getting short this week and seeing where it tests back down to. So there we go. I hope you found that video helpful. Looking forward to this week's trade.